Hello, listeners. You are listening to another episode of That's Entertainment. I am your pop culture maven, Jeff Malone, and with me, as always, can you believe it? Live from Hampton, Maine, it's my very own Aunt Beth Woods. Aunt Beth, how are you today in this here fantastic June day?
I'm good. When you said with you as always, I was thinking it's been over a long time. I don't even remember when the last time I
Was it our
talked.
Emmy episode?
That's what I was thinking. It could have been when was that?
I guess it was
Did,
January.
oh man. Okay. I don't know if we did any others since then, but
Well,
it's nice to
I did the annual, or no, it would have been the Oscars. We did an Oscars
okay.
episode, of course.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's nice to be back
Yes. Have you
and
listened to
chat.
any of the recent mini episodes? I think I finally watched Square Pegs, and there were a couple
I listened,
karaoke corners.
yeah, I listened to Square Pegs. I didn't listen to the latest karaoke though.
Oh, well, Kevin is going
Um,
to be so mad at you.
I know I'll have to put that on. Who who did, or do you want me to wait? I was gonna say, who did he
Well,
recommend?
I'll tell you the bands, and you can be surprised by the song selections. He picked Audio Slave, Incubus, and Linkin Park.
Okay.
You can
That
ask your
sounds like
kids if they listened to those bands in middle
yes. Well,
school.
I know Lincoln Park and Incubus. I don't know if I knew Audio Slave, but
Audio Slave was a super group. They put out like two albums. It was the instrumentalists from Rage Against the Machine and Chris Cornell, the lead singer from Soundgarden.
oh, okay. I like his voice, so maybe I'd like it.
Maybe. Maybe you'll be a slave to the audio.
Mhm.
Okay, so on That's Entertainment, we pick a pop culture topic and discuss it according to the three F's: first, favorite, and forever. If you've never listened to us before, well, thank you for making this your very first episode. Maybe you saw the subject of this episode and were like, "Oh, I love that." And you'll figure it out as you go along. And our loyal listeners, we haven't really changed anything, so no need to be worried about that. But before we dive in, Aunt Beth, you and I both had a very busy May, didn't we?
Yes, it was busy and
In fact,
fabulous.
it's why we're not talking about this topic at hand until June.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, I got to go on my dream vacation with my family to Italy.
Is that your first
Um,
time ever there?
yes,
Okay.
it's been a dream of mine forever. I used to just say, I've got to go to Italy before I die. And then kept saying to Wesley, well, I need to go at least while I'm able to, walk around and stuff. And so we did a lot of walking. So it was good. Glad I didn't wait till I'm in my 70s or 80s.
Well, your
But yeah,
brother,
it
I
was,
believe your brother, who's in his 70s, was there.
yes.
Was he able to walk?
Yes, and my sister-in-law, they did a lot of walking too.
Yes,
Um,
Uncle Martin, the formerly of the our Superman and Beatles episodes.
and has Aunt Jane hasn't been, we need to have your mom and Aunt Jane. Are they the only two that haven't been? Well, Aaron.
Aaron was on the Weird Al episode, or Aaron,
No,
Aaron,
Erin.
My
Erin.
sister-in-law. You mean?
Yes,
Yeah,
she
I
hasn't.
think we still need her as well. Although she did, I did do a karaoke corner for her recently.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. But yes, and how was your trip?
It was it was treacherous. It,
Treacherous.
well, the I did a decent amount of the driving, so it was
Oh, that's right. You drove down with your mom and dad.
right.
Right.
So I guess it's the Smoky Mountains, which is I think part of the Appalachians, and in western North Carolina. So most of the way there was just down along whatever interstate we were going on. but then the last couple miles, it's these really winding roads that
Oh,
are, and there's some rapids like right next to the road that I think
no, I
people
don't like
kayak
that.
down. And I'm like, and some people are like passing us on roads that aren't supposed to be passing roads,
Oh,
and we're
wow.
going like, I don't know, we were driving the speed limit like 45 miles per hour or something, and they're like zipping by at like 50 or
Ugh.
60. I'm like,
Are
why do
you
you
up
need to
high
go?
too?
Um, well, we the resort Hawkstein, it's right in the mountains, and
Oh,
there's some
okay.
trails that you can go up. So yeah, it was
Yeah, I
um
don't like that kind of driving. That's scary.
yeah,
But you made it.
we did. Yeah, and it was lovely weather. Did you see the pictures on Instagram
Uh,
and Facebook?
the only one I saw what Katie put on Facebook, so I
Okay.
loved your suit.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
I
I
put,
wore a pink suit in case anyone
yeah,
was
a
wondering.
bright pink suit.
Yes.
But yeah, but the actual wedding was nice, and
Yeah.
the day of the oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was raining. It had rained the day that we arrived on Thursday, but then it was all sunny the rest of the weekend.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Um,
Good.
and
Yeah.
and while I believe while both of us were away, we the topic of our upcoming discussion ended its run, or maybe it was, or did it end its
I
run
think it
the
ended
right
before.
after we came back? Or maybe you were
I
still
can't remember.
away and I had just come back.
I can't remember. I was thinking, are you sure it wasn't before we went away? Because I felt like, no, maybe not.
It's let's see here. The
I,
series finale of Young Sheldon aired on May 16th.
okay, that's when I was away. So I guess when I came back, so I would have missed two episodes because I was also gone on the ninth
I think you missed two
or
weeks worth of episodes,
2 weeks. Yeah,
and
one was an hour.
it was four episodes total. Well,
Okay.
the finale was a two-parter, and on May 9th they showed two new episodes.
Okay. So yeah, I must have caught up then when I got back.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're all set to talk about it since we're
All right.
all
Well,
both caught up.
I'll go ahead and set it up then. I believe I said the
Okay.
name of the show, but here's a quick little intro to set the mood. All right. Here we go. Here's the intro. Bazinga.
That's the whole intro.
That was it.
Okay.
Yes, we're talking about the travails of Sheldon Cooper, in particular his youthful days on the CBS sitcom Young Sheldon, which was a spinoff of the very successful sitcom The Big Bang Theory, which featured Jim Parsons in as the adult version of Sheldon. Ian Armitage played the titular young Sheldon, and we also met his family members, the rest of the Cooper family. So we'll start off with a very good place to start, the section that we call first, where we reveal how we got ourselves involved as viewers of this particular piece of entertainment. So Young Sheldon premiered in 2017, I believe. Yes. Well, meanwhile, Big Bang Theory had premiered 10 years earlier, 2007, and ran until 2019. So the two shows overlapped for a couple seasons. Now, I think I know the answer to this already, but in case our listeners don't know, so let's lay out, Aunt Beth, you and I, how much of the Big Bang Theory had we watched before Young Sheldon premiered, and what convinced us to give the prequel a shot? You can go ahead.
Okay. So it'll be interesting because I didn't watch The Big Bang Theory,
At all,
although
any single episode?
I was just going to say I probably saw maybe two or three episodes but that's not many out of all the ones there
Right.
were.
Out of like
Um, I
200 or
didn't
something.
I didn't dislike it. I just never really got into it. And so what convinced me to watch Young Sheldon was actually seeing Ian Armitage in Big Little Lies at your parents' house. I was there one summer and they said, "Oh, you have to watch this." And so they had already seen it and they rewatched the whole thing with me. And because I think it was on HBO, which I didn't have at the time. And I just thought he was such a great young actor. And so when I saw that he was going to be in this new show, I said, "Oh, I'm going to watch it and give it a try." I mean, I even though I didn't watch The Big Bang Theory, I really knew about it and knew what this was the new one was supposed to be about. So I thought I'd uh, give it a try, and I'll tell you more about it after that. So I assume did you watch all of The Big Bang Theory?
I did, yeah. So I didn't watch it right from when it premiered. I remember at the time I was in college and I saw previews for it, and was kind of insulted by the premise about it. Like, I was like, two nerdy guys awkwardly trying to flirt with this stereotypical blonde hot girl who lives across the hall from them. Like, haven't we seen this before? This is this. I didn't feel insulted as a nerd. I felt insulted as a fan of TV shows. Um,
Mm.
well, I guess you could say I felt insulted as a TV nerd, but not an intellectual nerd. But
Mhm.
then one of my roommates, my roommate Jomi, he started watching it, and he was a math and biochem double major in college, and I thought, well, if he's not insulted by it, maybe it's worth giving it a shot. So I actually watched the first two seasons within the span of like 2 weeks when I was in Australia
Jeez.
in the spring of 2009. Well, it was fall in Australia at the time. But I mean, it just went. I could just burn through them so quickly because I think without commercials, each episode was like just 19 minutes.
Was it on a like streaming on something or
Well, there really wasn't streaming at the time. I think
oh
I was using a service that was not exactly on the up and up,
oh
but
okay.
it was like an open secret among people who lived
Yeah.
on campus. That was like,
Oh,
there's this
okay.
thing you can download, and this program you can download, and you can download pretty much any TV show as soon as it becomes available. You don't have to wait. You can watch American shows right after their American premiere. You don't have to
Okay.
wait until they show them on Australian TV. So um, I hope the
So you
statute of
that's
limitation has passed. Hopefully, Monash University won't be listening too closely to this episode.
yes. So you zipped through the first two and then you started
And
live like
then,
on the third
right,
season.
exactly. Yeah, so then I mean, so by the time young Sheldon was arriving, I was like, I'm a well, I did while I was a loyal viewer of Big Bang, I kind of had a love-hate relationship with it. Like, it could make me crack up like no other show, but it also had its moments where it was kind of annoying and kind of leaning too hard into stereotypes.
Mm.
But when Young Sheldon came around, it was like, okay, it's a single cam family comedy as opposed to a multi-cam sitcom about these nerdy adults. So it'll be something different. I'll give it a. I like family sitcoms in general. I think it'll be worth a shot. So I started watching it right from the start, and yeah, does that set up our young Sheldon story well enough for us to move on to the favorite section.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well, so in the favorite section, that's where we discuss, appropriately enough, our our most beloved aspects of the topic at hand. So, to kind of set the scene, I asked us to consider what was the special formula that convinced us to keep watching Young Sheldon week in and week out, and then what were our favorite episodes or storylines, recurring gags, main characters, recurring characters, guest stars, etc. Just anything you loved about the show that you need to mention. That's where we're going to talk about it right now.
Okay. Well, I was trying to think if I liked the show right off because you said what was the special formula that kind of kept us watching, but I think I remember really liking it right away. I think a lot had to do with the cast and especially Mima.
Mm-hmm.
She was my favorite right from the start. Annie Potts.
Right.
That
Had you
character
watched
was
Designing Women or anything she was in?
no, I didn't watch that when it was on, and then I remember hearing how good it was, and I need to watch it. I think Uncle Martin even watched it. Have you ever seen it?
No, I think my
It's so,
mom had, but I didn't know, like
yeah.
it was a show that I heard of, and then I look who the cast was, and I'm like, oh man, that's a pretty good
I
cast.
know it had some good people. I should see if that I could ever, excuse me, if they ever show that on anything. But anyway, yeah, Annie, that character of Mima, whoever created that was genius. Um, that I forgot, you know, so many of the early episodes, because it was, me, with it was 7 years ago, so I just remember it in general. So I'll tell you, um, I mean, I liked over the season seeing how the kids matured throughout the series because they were pretty little when I guess they were about 8, the twin
That
Sheldon
sounds
and
right.
Missy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and so by the time it ended, they were well, she was in high school, he was already in college, but still it was fun to see that. Also earlier on, I loved any episode that featured Missy because I thought she was a really funny, very funny character. She was pretty sarcastic, but she could give a line really, really well. So um, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed episodes with guest McKenna Grace
Hmm.
when she and Sheldon had scenes together. I thought that was kind of fun because she played a kind of a female version of Sheldon, I guess
Yeah.
you'd say.
Yeah,
And
with
then
all the intellect, but with the social skills that he
that's right,
lacked.
that's right, yeah. Um, and then as far as some of the guest stars, which maybe you'll remind me because I can't remember so many of them, but I don't even remember how long they've been on, but when I loved seeing Wallace Shawn, Ed Begley Jr., and
Hmm.
Wendy Malick all
Yeah.
part part of. I guess did he meet them all at the college? I felt like he met Wallace Shawn before that.
Well, I think in early seasons, it might have been even as far back as season one, but maybe season two, while Sheldon was still in high school, he started taking, I think, like just one college class, and Wallace Shawn, as Dr. Sturgis, was the professor of that class. So
Okay,
he met him before any of the other
before
college
yeah.
people.
Okay. Well, I just loved their characters and that when they were together or just their basic storyline was trying to cater to Sheldon, but also wishing that he was not really there.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, Wendy Malick was really funny, so I enjoyed them. That's about all I got because I couldn't. If you mentioned ones, I'll probably say, "Oh yeah, I loved that." But um, those were specific. Although I really enjoyed. I mean, every week, I don't think there was a show that I didn't enjoy. So yeah.
Yeah, I
How about
mean,
you?
I think we're pretty much on the same page as far as the things we really liked about it. Because yeah, I mean, I have Wallace Shawn and Ed Begley written down, and I think Annie Potts was my favorite of all the main cast members.
Hmm.
Although I really loved all of the Cooper family members.
Yeah,
But Annie Potts, I think, was the only one that I knew of beforehand, and Andy and Armitage. But yeah,
yeah,
the Lance
yeah. The others,
Barber and Zoe Perry as the parents, they'd never really had any huge role beforehand. And then Reagan Revord, who played Missy, I mean, I think this may have been her first big acting role. Uh,
probably.
and Montana Jordan, who played Georgie, probably the same for him. I mean, he's a little older, but not that much older.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then and Craig T. Nelson was also great. I
Mm.
didn't as Dale, Missy's baseball coach, and then Meemaw's boyfriend. I liked Dr. Sturgis. I thought he was a better romantic match for her, even though she was ended up dating Dale for much longer. But Craig T. Nelson was a hoot always as the sort of boyfriend who always says the wrong thing, but then learns to shut up if he wants to be able to hang around.
Mhm.
And so I've got a couple of episodes written down here. The titles are descriptive, but I wouldn't have remembered them if I hadn't looked them up beforehand. But there's a season 5 episode called "A Solo Peanut, a Social Butterfly, and the Truth," and then a season 6 episode called "A Stolen Truck and Going on the Lam." And both of those are kind of a part of the Paige saga in her later appearances when she's a rebellious teenager who doesn't really want to be a genius anymore, and she runs away. And yeah, I thought it was like a lot of great sitcoms. It was able to handle the more dramatic moments pretty well.
Is
And
the one with the stolen truck? Does Missy go with her?
yeah,
Oh no, yeah, I
yeah, that's
remember
the
that
one.
one very.
And also, and the Solo Peanut, a Social Butterfly, and the Truth. That's also the one where Georgie tells his girlfriend Mandy and future wife that he was lying about his age,
Oh,
and then
that's
we find
right.
out that she's pregnant,
Jeez.
which makes me go. I thought Emily Osment was pretty great as
Yeah.
a later addition to the main cast.
So
And
what season was that they found out she was pregnant?
5, I believe.
And had she been on was that her first season on
I
also?
think so. Yeah, I think that relationship developed over the course of that season. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So and then So yeah, I knew Emily Osment from Hannah Montana. Did you know that's
Oh,
what she was on originally? She played Miley's best friend Lily.
oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't watch that. So
And then, so when she became a regular, we also got to meet her parents, played by Will Sasso and Rachel Bay Jones. I thought they fit right in
yeah,
perfectly as well.
yeah. It was good casting, good writing, good. I mean, yeah, I don't remember anything that I said, "Oh, I didn't like this," or would change, or
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it didn't break the mold or anything, but yeah, it was just they had a solid batch of writers. They had a cast that gelled well together, and it was an enjoyable half hour every week. And there was often there were kind of cliffhangers at the end of every episode, or at least something left to hook you want to keep watching. And I laughed, I thought, and sometimes I even got choked up.
yeah,
And just it's the same formula that's worked for decades on TV,
yep.
and that's that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We are
I
we
just
run.
want to point out when you said that formula though doesn't always work with a lot of comedies because I'll watch maybe like, I don't know, I'll see a quick scene or something of a show and I'll say like, that's stupid or it's not even funny.
Yeah.
So for me, well, at least for my humor, like I thought this was very funny. Like that whoever, like I said, the writing, like you said, you laughed out loud or and sometimes it was touching, but it has to be really funny, not stupid,
Yeah.
uh for me to continue watching. So
Can you think of any shows that are stupid that tried to pull off something
uh
similar to what young Sheldon was trying to do that didn't quite work?
hmm, I don't know. I'd have to
Or
think
do you
about
want to
that.
plead the fifth and not offend anyone?
I know. Yeah, no, there's been some uh shows that I say, how is this still on? Or, that type of thing. So
All right. So at this point in the podcast, before we get to the final section, we usually take a quick trivia break to see if we can test our each other's noodles. So, Aunt Beth, do you have any brain teasers for me?
yeah, you may know this, but I thought it was hard unless if they've talked about it on the Big Bang Theory. But okay, why doesn't Sheldon have a Texas drawl?
Texas, what?
Drawl or accent, I guess is.
Oh man.
And I don't know if the
Was it
answer.
explained explicitly, or was it just
It
because
says,
he didn't want to sound like a hick or something like that?
well, kind of. It does say that he explains it, but I don't know if it was in Young Sheldon or the Big Bang Theory. But there's a reason why, like, yeah. But I don't know if you didn't
Was
know more
there a
specific.
way to was it what's like is it phrased a specific way, or like what's the specific thing about it?
Well, he explains that he switched to a certain accent, and then there's a
Southern
reason,
Californian?
a mid-Atlantic accent,
Okay.
and then there's a reason why.
Because that's makes his intellect more comfortable for people to handle.
Well, I don't know if you want me to just tell you.
Sure.
Okay. Like I said, I thought this was hard. So it says he explains that he switched to a mid-Atlantic accent because people with Texas accents don't win Nobel Prizes,
Oh,
despite this being inaccurate. But that was his explanation. But like I said, I don't know if that was in Sheldon it just hit me when I read that. I was like,
yeah.
oh yeah, the rest of the family does all have the accent and he doesn't. And I didn't even think of it until I read that.
Yeah. Well, Missy, not so much.
I know. I was thinking hers was not as strong, but Georgie for sure,
Hmm.
and the parents for sure.
Yeah. Um,
But okay, do you have one?
sure. I do. So, which young Sheldon cast member also played a bully on a season 5 episode of The Big Bang Theory?
Oh, I feel like I read that, and okay. So young Sheldon cast member, but he played a bully in the Big Bang Theory.
Just one episode.
One episode, and it was a regular cast member.
Hmm.
Huh. I would say, oh no, Billy, is that his name? Their neighbor?
No.
No, okay, Georgie.
It no. It well, it was an episode of The Big Bang that aired. It was a season 5 Big Bang Theory episode, so that would have been like 2011 or 2012.
Oh, that started that early?
It started in
What year
2007.
Oh, okay. So about 2012. Oh, so somebody older. Yeah, I'm not sure. The dad?
Yeah, do you know do you remember the actor's name?
Yeah, Lance Barber.
Yeah, it was him.
He played a bully in the
So
well,
he played a former bully. So uh Leonard, Sheldon's roommate on The Big Bang Theory, he played Lance Barber played an old bully, I guess an old high school bully of Leonard's, and then they like run into each other at a bar years
Mhm.
later on this episode. So
Oh,
this was like 4 or 5 years before he was cast on Young Sheldon. But they're like, I guess when they were putting the cast together, like, hey, remember Leonard's bully? He would
yeah.
be a great guy to play
Interesting.
Sheldon's dad.
But he seemed like he would have been still too old, like to be Leonard's um classmate.
Well,
Did he?
so on The Big Bang Theory, I think they're in their late 20s when the show starts. So,
So mid-30s, say.
yeah, so mid
Oh
30s by
yeah,
the time
that's
this
good.
episode airs. And then, so George and Mary, they had started having kids when they were like 18 or
Pretty
something.
young. Yeah, so that's true. He could have been I forget how old Georgie is when the he's like is he like 5 years older than
I think so,
Sheldon?
because I think
Yeah,
Sheldon's 9 at the beginning of the series, and so he and Georgie are both in high school at the same time.
yeah. Okay, so if he was say Georgie was about 14, um, then dad he could have been like 31
Yeah,
when he had him, and then this would have been like 5 years later
right. Well,
when he
so
was yeah, so he could have yeah, I guess he could have passed for that.
yeah. Well, I'm looking
Okay.
up. Lance Barber is 50, so I think I think he's a little older than George was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This was another one that it was so fun, and I didn't write it down. You'll have to look it up. There was a question about the phone number, and I don't remember what the question was, but it said if you dial this number you'll get the Coopers. And I
Hmm.
dialed it, and it's so you need to look it up because it was so much fun. I dialed it, and they're like, "Hi, we're the Coopers," and they go, and then
Oh,
Sheldon's, and it's all their voices. So I thought that was cute. But
oh,
yeah, I guess if you Google Cooper's phone number or something, you'll find it.
yeah. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it was cute. I thought that was clever. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for my trivia.
All right. Well, now we'll finish up with Forever, where we take stock of where we are now and look towards the future.
Forever! Forever! Forever!
So where we are now is Young Sheldon has wrapped up its 7 season run, and another spinoff, a spinoff of a spinoff. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage is coming to CBS in the fall of 2024. So, how did the series finale work for you, and how does the series as a whole fit into the pantheon of family sitcoms? And are we planning on watching Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage? So that's what we're going to wrap up with. Those
Did you say how did the finale? I didn't even. Did you? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I guess I didn't
Yeah.
write that out in our show prep notes,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, so maybe I'm catching you on the spot, but
I
what
know.
did you think of the finale?
Um, I thought it was very good. Um, was it the or the show before when I was pretty shocked when George died? Wasn't
So
expecting that.
So okay, so you I guess you didn't know then, but if as I as a Big Bang Theory viewer knew that uh George was dead during by the time of the Big Bang
By the time,
Theory,
yes,
because Laurie Metcalf plays his mom on she appears on several episodes of the course of the series. And did you know
Mhm.
this that her daughter is Zoe Perry, who
Yeah,
played her on Young
yeah, I
Sheldon?
love that. I know.
So it's and they mention at one point, I think they specify on the Big Bang that he died of a heart attack. So if
So
you
were
had
you?
watched the Big Bang and then started
Yeah.
watching Young Sheldon, you knew it was coming eventually.
Well, I guess I'm glad I didn't know, but were you surprised then or no? Like when it happened?
So I didn't watch the episode where he died live, and I saw like a headline next day where it was like Lance Barber and the Young Sheldon writers explain how they handled that moment, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh, I
geez.
think I know what they're talking
What
about.
the,
But I mean, there were times during the series, I think he did have a heart attack, another one earlier that wasn't as bad, where it was like, oh, is his health going to take a downturn or something? But I was looking for clues
hmm
here and there, but I was knowing that this was the final season. I was expecting it to happen at some point.
Okay. Um, yeah, and me with my memory, I can't even remember the specific last season. I know I'm trying to think what was happening with Sheldon and school. Because
Uh,
I know they showed him at the end. Was he
well,
finished with college or? Oh,
he
did
was
they
being
get
recruited by other schools for grad school
for
programs.
grad school? Yeah. Um, yeah, let's just say I thought it was I did. I remember thinking it was a good ending. They tied everything up to well. Um, and so yeah, I enjoyed it. And I also think that the show as a whole stands up as a very funny, clever, sometimes touching family comedy. And I'm really glad that I had watched it. uh I was sad for it to end, really, because I looked forward to it. So for that reason, I'm definitely planning to watch Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. I don't know much about it, like if there's any other characters from Young Sheldon that will be in it.
I think
Um,
the plan is Georgie and Mandy, obviously, and then I think her parents are going to be main cast members as well. But yeah, I think I saw in some interviews with the writers that they're open to having like some of the Coopers be on it, but
once in a
probably not Sheldon. I mean, they can say
okay.
he's in California full time now.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, I think it would make sense that Mary and Missy would pop by
Yeah,
because you know they're
yeah, it's not like
they're
they're
they're not
suddenly
living
gone.
far from each other.
Yeah, right. I did read that the same trio of writers who created the Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon are also writing and executive producing the show. And
Mm-hmm.
that's Chuck Lorre, Stephen Milaro, and Steve Holland. So
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was a good endorsement for me, since I enjoyed Young Sheldon so much. So I'm gonna watch it and see what it's like. I don't
Yeah,
even know. Well, so when they say their first marriage, obviously you've watched The Big Bang Theory. Does Georgie have a few marriages then?
well, so Jerry O'Connell plays Georgie on The Big Bang
Mm-hmm.
Theory. He didn't appear until after Young Sheldon had happened, so they
Oh,
had the Young Sheldon portrayal to go on for to set the tone for his performance. But we don't see his wife or have. I don't think there's a specific reference to like who he's currently married to. There might be
Hmm.
something about like, oh, I've been divorced once or twice. I would have to rewatch the episode to remind
Mm.
myself. Um, but yeah, I think that did seem to be kind of the implication that he isn't with that he
Yeah.
has been married more than one time. So I think they went with that title very purposefully because knowing the continuity they've already established on other shows, they want to kind of be consistent with that, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Since Sheldon ended, at least we can kind of have a bit of a continuation.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, I'm happy as well. And they've announced it's going to be multicam, so live audience thing. So I'm like, that's how Big Bang started. Then they went to single cam for Young Sheldon. Now they're going back to multicam, and I appreciate how they are all forging their own identity. But yeah, I've
mhm.
been I'm excited as well. I'm hoping it'll scratch the same itch that Young Sheldon has been
Yeah.
scratching. I
And
think
what do you think as far as, oh, sorry, I cut you off.
I think
As
go
it,
ahead because I think I was about to answer what you're
oh, about how
asking
it
anyway.
stood up as a um comedy.
Well, I think it was, I would say, one of my favorite sitcoms of the past uh 7 years, I would suppose. And yeah, there's been so many great family sitcoms over the decades. It's one of the most enduring subgenres of this type of TV show. And so I don't know if I would say it's like top 10 of all time in that category because there's a lot of great competition. But, as far as family sitcoms from this era go, from this century, I would say it stacks up nicely. And I might rewatch some episodes here and there if I somehow have free time where I'm not watching a new episode of a new show.
Something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I enjoyed the finale as well. I thought it was it was tough to watch in some ways because it was dealing with the fallout of the death of a family member, and not everyone is handling it so well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it put a bow on everything, but it was also like I think this family's going to continue to have some rough patches for the next few
Yeah.
years. But it was what they had set up with Big Bang Theory, like the home life that they referenced for Sheldon on that show was what we ended up getting.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that they kind of set up a storytelling challenge for themselves that they ended up doing what they set out to accomplish. So would you like there to be an old Sheldon one day where he's on his deathbed and
No. Uh, I don't know. I liked it. I think I like just what it is.
okay.
I don't know who would play. Who do you think could play old Sheldon?
I think it should be Ian Armitage, but in old man makeup.
Oh, oh, no, okay.
Yeah,
He really is a great actor, don't you think so?
yeah.
Sheesh, fruit.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's some kids who just from a very young age they have so much self assurance
I
or whatever
know.
word you want
Yeah.
to use, and they're they're perfectly comfortable in front of the camera, and in interviews he's just as confident. Uh,
Mm,
and yeah, he's just. I mean, I guess he must have good parents or a good support system, but part of that is just some kids just have that personality, and
yeah,
that's how they end up getting cast on these shows.
yeah. They were lucky to find him, that's for sure.
Uh,
Okay, we're in
yeah,
time.
we're gonna wrap things up. But before we go, is there anything we'd like to promote or anything we'd like to recommend that you can enjoy with your aunts and or nephews?
Okay. Well, it was funny because I Googled some of the new movies because I don't even know what's coming out, and there was Fly Me to the Moon sounds really good. And then there's a show coming out tomorrow on Hulu that I just read about today called Brat, about Andrew McCarthy's documentary about the Brat Pack, which sounds really good. And that show Unstable that I told you about with Rob Lowe, the second season is coming out in August. But what I wanted to
What's
say
that? Is that on Netflix? Or
I'm not 100% sure what it's on.
let's look it up quick.
Yeah, because it's really, I told you, in your,
It
all
is on
your-
Netflix, yes.
Okay. It's so, I really enjoyed it. I think you would have liked it too. But let me tell you that I really miss Entertainment Weekly because when the summer movie preview episode, what you call it, episode,
Issue.
issue
Yeah.
arrived, I would carefully read through and I would put a check mark next to all the movies that I wanted to see. And I felt like I was up on everything. And now I just half the time I don't know what's playing, and it's very frustrating. So yeah, I feel more out of it. I get a few from my People magazine, which they started sending me once they stopped doing Entertainment Weekly. They do a few reviews, but nothing like Entertainment Weekly. So yeah, that's really all my recommendations.
We'll have to start a change.org petition to bring EW back into print.
Yeah, I know.
Well, as usual, I'll promote our Patreon. You can support us with a few bucks every month if you'd like to. And Ken Jeong, you still have an open invitation to appear as a guest whenever you'd like to. And I will recommend this one you'll have to watch with your somewhat older nieces and nephews. Maybe 12 and up is okay. Everybody's in LA. Did you watch that at all? It was John Mulaney's live talk show on Netflix. It aired live last month, but it's still available.
Everybody's in LA, it's called?
Yeah, like the concept was like all his comedy friends are in Los Angeles. At least for this week, they had, I think, 6 episodes, and so they originally aired live. I didn't watch any of them live because I think that was the week I was in North Carolina. But I've watched the first 2 so far, and if you like John Mulaney, you'll probably like this. He does some comedy bits. On the first episode, he explains why Los Angeles is the way it is and why its geography, why he does like a breakdown of all the Los Angeles neighborhoods. And then in the second episode, Andy Samberg plays Jimmy Goldstein, who's this old businessman who's always courtside at Lakers games. And a bunch of other funny people show up. Jerry Seinfeld's on one episode, Jon Stewart. It's just a talk show hosted by John Mulaney.
And what's it on?
Netflix.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, and then I'll also mention you can leave us a review. You could go to ratethispodcast.com/that's Auntertainment to do that. And we'll read it on air if you'd like us to. And you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I guess that's everything. So time to say bon voyage.
What is good night, everybody?
And keep your remotes handy and your eyes open.